Reading with your kids.
Hola, ni hao, konnichiwa, assalamu alaikum, shalom, mahaba, moni muli wanji, namaste, jumbo, bienvenidos. Hi, my name is Jedley, and this is the Reading with Your Kids podcast. We are coming to you from the crowded Mattress Studios in the beautiful neighborhood of Reedville in Boston, Massachusetts. We are so honored and so delighted that you'll join us in our mission to help all families grow closer through reading. Please be sure to tell all of your family and friends about the show, and please be sure to subscribe to the show on the iHeartRadio app, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, wherever you find your podcast. We have two great guests today. M Waldvogel is returning to the show to celebrate who's out there. And a little bit later on, Douglas Berry will be here to celebrate his Jasper and Friends series. Join us right now from the beautiful state of Arizona. Our guest is returning to the podcast to celebrate her brand new picture book. It's called Who's Out There. Please welcome back to the show, M Waldvogel. Hey, KM, how are you?
I'm doing really well, Jed. Thanks for asking. Thanks for having me, too.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you on. Some of the people listening might have heard that Augie is out there. My guard blind beagle is taking care of us. I think he was surprised by the introduction. Tell us all about who's out there, please.
Well, this is a picture book about a baby owl that is scared of everything that he hears and sees at night. And my inspiration for the book was that I saw a baby owl here in Arizona, and his eyes were just huge, and he did look terrified of everything around him. And it reminded me of young children, toddlers, or even babies when they hear something suddenly and their eyes get so big. And so in the story, baby owl, like I said, is scared of everything that he sees and everything that he hears at night. And Mama Owl is there reassuring him that he doesn't have anything to fear. She's there to watch over him, and she'll take care of him until he's able to soar on his own. And it's just like with children. You know, we'll watch over you. At some point, you'll become independent, and you'll soar on your own. And that was what the theme of my story was going to be about.
Yeah. Neat. It sounds like the owl is a lot like Augie, my wonder dog here. He's afraid of everything he can't see and hears.
Yeah. So, everything sudden is just kind of scary, or you're not quite what animals are anticipating or what people are anticipating. So it's kind of got a universal theme to it.
Yeah. You know, this idea of reassuring our kids that we're going to be there for them and care for them no matter what is certainly it's a beautiful message to share with young kids, especially through the beauty of a picture book. But I also have a feeling that this is a message that there might be a lot of tweens and teens really need to hear.
Yeah, I think so too. Because as a parent, you do always consider your child, and you do always want to take care of them. Doesn't matter if your child is a baby or a teen, like you said, or even an adult. You still want to make sure that everything is okay for them. And I think that's just part of life.
It really is. And being a parent is such a challenging job, especially since it really doesn't come with any instructions. You don't have to get a certificate or a license to become a parent. You're just out there and you're thrown into the fire. And even when you have all of the support in the world that you can have, like me and my beautiful wife, we're greatly blessed with family and friends being supportive of us when our kids are young. You really never know what's going to be happening.
No, you don't. And it's hard to know what your children are going to encounter in life. But no matter what it is, you want to give them the skills that they can handle it. But you never give up the idea of, I want to take care of you. I want to make sure that everything is okay.
Yeah. As we're speaking here, I'm thinking that in addition to teens and tweens, one of the things that would be really beautiful about this book is that it's a great reminder to parents that, yeah, you're going to have difficult times out there, and there are going to be times when you don't know exactly what to do. You're just kind of winging it, but that's okay as long as you keep at the front of your mind that you're caring for your kids and you're giving them everything that you can to support them and help them grow. Then you're doing a good job.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think probably my favorite statement in the book is, "You, my child, will always be in my heart, now and forever." Because I think that that's true. It just resonates with me that no matter what, you can be grown up, but I'm still going to have you in my heart, and you'll always be in my heart. You'll always be a part of me.
Yeah, yeah. Now, you were on the podcast in the past to celebrate spies, soldiers, couriers, and saboteurs. I still love that word, saboteurs. Women of the American Revolution. What do you prefer, writing picture books, writing middle grade nonfiction? What's your preference?
They all have a draw for me. The time of the American Revolution greatly intrigues me, but I love writing picture books as well. I can't say that I have a preference. I write both. Right now I'm in the middle of writing a time travel book about students going back to the time of the American Revolution, but I'm also working on some picture book ideas.
When you're writing a picture book, are you consciously aware as you're putting the words for a picture book together that these books are going to be read together? It's going to be a communal experience, that families are going to be sitting down reading these words that you're just putting onto paper now together?
Yes, I am, very much so. I have young grandchildren, and that is one of the favorite times of my visit with them, is if I can sit with them and I can read books with them. And I know that their parents do that as well. Every night that they sit down with them and they go through the picture books. And I love the development of the child learning that this is what a book is about. You start here and the story is going to unfold as you're moving the pages forward. And so that helps with literacy as well. Mm-hmm. But I love the idea of a child cuddling up with mom or dad and going through the story and reading the story together.
Yeah. When you have a moment to kind of sit and reflect on your career, and you realize that there have been thousands of families that have cuddled up together on the couch to read your words and your stories, how does that make you feel?
Oh, that's so inspiring to me, because I love the idea that the thoughts that I have, the stories that I have, can be shared, and they can help the family bond with one another. And to me, that's so worthwhile. I so appreciate that.
Yeah. Now, we encourage families to continue reading with their kids as they get older. Do you think that, and can you imagine that those same families that are enjoying a book like Who's out there, in a few years are going to be again come together and either reading it aloud or co-reading it and coming together to speak about it, a book like Spies, Soldiers, Couriers, and Saboteurs?
Actually, I've heard from parents that tell me that they have done that. And I think sometimes with teens or preteens, as their writing or their reading grows, maybe they'll come across something that, oh, guess what I just read? And they'll share something, with a parent that way. But I have heard from parents that have said that we've sat down and we've read through one of the chapters together, and we've talked about what it would be like to live during that particular time period.
Again, kind of going back to that time period in American history, because I'm really concerned about what's going on now in this period of history. It seems as if the principles that our founding fathers fought for, the idea of being able to disagree respectfully and come and have a respectful debate, it's almost as if a lot of people in the country are allergic to those ideas right now. It's like the idea of sitting down and having a conversation with somebody that has a slightly different opinion of you or might identify as being part of a different political party, that just can't happen.
Oh, you're right. I do see a great division in the country, which is sad to see. And there is a correlation with that particular time period because there were the people that wanted the independence. There were the people that felt that our country should stay with British rule. And I can see the conflict between them. And I agree that it is sad that you can't just sit down and you may have a difference of opinion, but we are all Americans and we should be proud of our country, want to make our country better, but work together to do that.
Yeah. I like that idea of being proud of the country and also acknowledging that it can be better.
I think that that's very important, that yes, we can move forward on things, but let's do it in a manner that's respectful of everyone.
Yeah, yeah. Exactly. Yes, we can only move forward and make the country better if we're doing it together in a respectful way.
Yeah.
Do you think that is something, this is going to sound crazy, do you think that idea of being able to tolerate different ideas and different opinions, do you think that's something that we can start helping our kids embrace as we're reading picture books to them like Who's out there?
I think so, because I think that you can look at some of the images that are there. And, for example, I have the squirrels and the bunnies, that are just, they're nestling in for the night, and that's what baby owl sees. Well, the squirrels and the bunnies have their own life, and they have things that they're concerned about too. And one of the things that they're concerned about would be the owls that would, prey on them. So I think that you can talk about the fact that, everyone has something in their life that they are concerned about. Everyone has their strengths. Everyone has something that they may need help with. Mm-hmm. And so I think that it's a great way to bring up that discussion with your children.
Yeah. Such an important idea to sit down with kids and help them understand that we all have different perspectives. We see the world we can see the same world, but it looks different to each of us because of our perspective, because of our histories, because of our experiences. And one way to look isn't better than another. It's just different.
Yes, exactly. I do think that it's important to acknowledge the differences, but to respect them as well.
Yeah. So you mentioned earlier that you are working on a new middle grade novel as well as other picture books. Can you give us more of a sneak preview of what might be coming out next?
Well, I do have a query out for a couple picture books, and one of them is a rhyming picture book about the day before Christmas. So it kind of rhymes to "'Twas the night before Christmas," but this is the day before Christmas. What's happening at the North Pole with the reindeer and the elves and Santa and Mrs. Claus and how they're preparing for the big night. And the other book would be the middle grade book, and that is a time travel book, like I mentioned. Mm-hmm. And it's a group of students that go to a living colonial museum, and they travel back to the 1700s. And so they get to experience what it's like for people at that time to be worried about, do I speak freely in front of my neighbors, or do I not speak freely in front of my neighbors? Are the British going to know that I'm helping the rebels? That type of thing. So.
Wow. So the kids get to experience kind of what's happening here, as we were talking about earlier, but in a different context. And they also get to experience what life is like before devices.
Right. So, and that is one of the things that I bring up is that, one of the children keeps patting his pockets looking for his cell phone. And of course, he doesn't have the cell phone with him because everything is back at the museum. But even if he had it, it would be useless.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I love this. Kim, tell us where we can go to find out more about you and find out more about all these wonderful books that are coming from your imagination.
Sure. I have a website that is simply my name, KMWaldvogel.com. My publisher is Orange Hat Publishing out of Waukesha, and so My books are available through Orange Hat. They're also available through local bookstores. Can be ordered by local bookstores, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, or Ingram even.
Yeah. We always love encouraging people to go to their local bookstore, ask very politely, and the book will be there in just a day or two.
Yeah, exactly. And I love the idea of supporting local businesses, small businesses, like you said, and
absolutely
helping them.
Yeah. We've had a really fun time speaking to the author of the brand new picture book. It's called Who's Out There? Our guest has been M Waldvogel. M, thanks so much for being back with us.
Oh, thanks for having me, Jed. I really appreciate it.
We hope you've enjoyed our chat with M Waldvogel. Right now, sit back and get ready to meet Air Force veteran Douglas Berry as he shares with us how his Jasper and Friends series came to life. Join us right now from the beautiful city of Columbia in South Carolina. Our guest is here today to celebrate his really fun picture book series. It's called Jasper and Friends. Please welcome to the show, Doug Berry. Hey, Doug, how are you?
Doing great. Thanks for having me on.
I'm excited to have you on. Tell us, the Jasper and Friends series had a really interesting birth, I guess. Tell us a little bit about what first inspired you to write about Jasper.
It sure did. It was, growing up, you read stories to your kids, and I always had that thought in the back of my head. It's like, I wonder if I could write a children's book. And years go by, and you just never get any kind of an idea. It's like it's all been done. There's all kinds of children's books out there. And then one day my son went out in the backyard and he caught a baby rabbit in the backyard, and he actually brought it in the house and named it Jasper. And we kept it overnight and we let it go the next morning. And I looked at my wife. I said, well, there's the idea for the book. I knew I couldn't have a little child go out in the backyard and snatch a rabbit up and bring it in his house, because then if the book went huge, there'd be kids running in their backyard trying to hunt down rabbits. So Jasper actually sneaks in through a pet door, a little plastic swinging pet door, and interacts with the children that way. So, but that was the story. Once I came up with the idea, I think I sat down and wrote it in about a half an hour. Of course, there were edits involved. From the time I wrote it to the time it got published, probably 10 years or so.
Mm-hmm. Well, that is a typical journey for a lot of authors. It does take an awfully long time to get something published, whether it's self-published or indie published or published by a big traditional publisher. I like that you decided to write your first story or the stories in the series from the perspective of the rabbit.
Yeah, and it's going to stay that way for the most part. I don't see any reason to change it. It really works. And my neighbors probably thought I was crazy, because when I was publishing that first book, everything was going smooth, and the publisher's like, well, you need to give the illustrator some ideas of what you want on the pages. And having never done it before, I'm like, oh, cow, what am I going to, I didn't know what to do. And then the more I thought about it, it's like, well, wait, I live in a house. That's where the rabbit goes. So I'm going around the inside of the house, and I'm holding my camera down about knee high, and I'm taking pictures of the house. So the pictures that are in the book are of the inside of my house, just cartoons. And the same with the outside photos. My neighbors probably thought I was nuts. I was running around the backyard taking pictures like rabbit hikes. There's a little pond by the house. I was down by the pond taking pictures from down by the ground. And I used that for the illustrator.
Yeah, that's really cute. I have a friend of mine who is a very accomplished photographer, and when his first child was born, did something similar, just kind of looked at the world through his child's eye. And so he published a series of photographs like you did from his child's perspective. And it's very powerful, because I think, we're so used to seeing the world through our own eyes that we don't take the time to think about what our child is looking at, or, how big we look, in our child's eye, how big the world looks from our child's eye. Exactly.
And I kind of went one step further with the rabbit, because I'm trying to look through the rabbit's eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And part of that first book is Jasper wonders, will his friends even believe him when he tells the story? When he goes back out, once he goes back out and tells his friends, and at first his friends don't believe him, and then goes through the whole story, and at the end they're like, wow. So yeah, it's you got to look at. I kind of got to look at it through the rabbit's eyes and through the other animal's eyes, and at the same time try to keep the verbiage to a minimum, where like a beginning reader can read it. And another thing that I take into a lot of consideration are the images themselves. I want the child to be able to understand what's happening in the book without being able to read. Mm-hmm. So as the parent reads them the book, even if they can't read, they can later on pick up the book and kind of halfway remembering what the parent is saying on what page and follow along with the pictures.
Yep.
And it makes sense to them.
Yeah. You know, that brings up something that I love to remind parents of as often as we can. It's really good practice to take a picture walk through a book with your kids. Before you read the story, you can either cover up the words or not, but just open up the book, take a walk through the book, looking at the pictures and talking about the pictures and asking your kids, sharing, what do you think this story is all about? And then after you go through the book, then sit down and read the book and then just talk about, hey, how close were we? And were you surprised that the story went this way instead of the way we thought?
Yeah, that's an awesome way of doing it for sure.
Yeah. Now, you were sharing with me earlier that you're retired from the Air Force after serving for 20 years. First, thank you for your service. Did you ever imagine when you were out there, I think I read that you're an armament specialist, as you were putting the different weapons and whatnot on the airplanes. Did you ever think that, someday I'm going to write a cute little children's book about a rabbit?
No, never. At that time, my career path was taking a different angle, a little bit different path. I had hooked up with a part-time ARCA/NASCAR racing team, and I was doing some mechanic work for them on the weekends, and that's how I was spending a lot of my time while I was on probably the last handful of years in the Air Force, and that was a lot of fun. And yeah, writing a children's book, I won't say it was the furthest thing from my mind, but it was pretty far out there. It was not really in the forefront.
Yeah. So what was it that gave you kind of permission to take that plunge, to say, okay, I've had this idea, it's a dream, I'm going to do it?
Yeah, it came to, I was turned down about 4 times, I think, from 4 publishers. And then lo and behold, when COVID struck, nobody was doing anything anyway. We were all kind of locked down, not just doing anything. And we were getting some COVID relief checks and that sort of thing. And being retired military, I don't, this maybe it's going to sound bad, but I didn't really need them. We had a good income coming in. And, I'm like, well, I got some extra money. Let's take another stab at this, children's book thing and see if I can't find, I'm just sitting at the house anyway. I might as well make use of my time. And I got on there and just started researching more publishers and stuff. And we hit with Fulton Publishing.
Wonderful. And what's the reaction been so far?
It's been great. Kids absolutely love these characters, which means a lot to me. You think it's about maybe padding your retirement a little bit. And I might get a little emotional, but it's when you see a kid read your book and smile.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure that's incredibly gratifying.
Yeah, it is.
You were sharing with me earlier that this book was first inspired by your son, I think, brought Jasper in, or a rabbit in, and that was about, I think you said about 10 or so years ago. What does your son think about the story now that he's a little bit older? Sounds like he's probably a teenager.
Yeah, well, no, I guess maybe it was longer than that because he's 25 now.
Oh, yeah, my math was either your numbers were wrong or my math was way off.
So I've got 3 grandkids with them and stuff now, so they really love it. TJ really gets into it. My daughter, who is a teacher, 4th grade teacher, she reads it to her class, and they absolutely love it.
Yeah. Now, you said that there are 2 books in the series that are out there, and book number 3 is almost ready to come out. Am I right?
Yes, sir. It sure is. Book number 2, I didn't know what to write it about because I didn't think there was going to be a book number 2. So it was going to be a one and done. And then when it sold so many and people started asking, so I scratched my head and said, what do we do with book number 2? Well, we like going to Myrtle Beach on vacation. So Jasper and his buddies went to the beach, and that's what that one was all about, exploring the beach. Book number 3 is going to be really cool. It's going to be a little bit more of a throwback for me. Till about the age of 15, I was in New Jersey we decided to pack everything up, move to Maryland, and be poultry farmers, which we knew nothing about. But this is a little bit of a throwback to that because Jasper's him and his buddies can't find their friend Mouse. They don't know where he is, but they know where he lives. So they go down to the farm where Mouse lives and, to see what's up with the mouse. And he's like, well, I just got all these chores I got to. They help him feed animals and plant a garden. And there's a little bit more fun stuff for kids to do. My dad came up with a great idea to do a little corn maze in there so kids could follow, not a hard maze, just, a little maze that you follow through. And then towards the end of it, after they get all their chores done, they're going to play hide and seek, and it's going to be a little seek and find for the characters that are like on the last page or the second to last page, where they're going to be peeking out from behind buildings or farm machinery or something for the kids to look for them.
Well, that sounds like an awful lot of fun.
So yeah, it's trying the activity thing in there a little bit, just to try to bring the fun level up a little bit.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be, it may be my best one yet. I think I'm really excited about getting it going.
Well, I love that. I love that you've written your third book, and the third book is the best book so far, and the fourth book will be even better than that.
It is. I already got the idea for that one. Everybody, it's like, you got to have a Christmas book. Everybody's got a Christmas book. You got to have a Christmas book. So, we're working on that. That's a little daunting because I want to cover the Santa Claus Christmas aspect, but at the same time, I want to touch on the reason for the season.
Right. Wonderful.
So we'll do the Santa thing, I think, in the first half of the book, and do touch on the Christian aspect of the book, like in the second half of the book, and see how that goes. So far, I've only got maybe a couple pages written on the Santa hat. They're still playing in the snow, but so far it's come out pretty good.
Excellent. Well, it sounds like you're having an awful lot of fun, and it sounds like you're bringing a lot of fun and joy to a lot of kids.
Yep. Like you said, to watch the smiles on their faces, that's really what it's all about.
Yeah.
That's an awesome feeling. But, can you beat it for a hobby? This is the best hobby you could have.
Wonderful. Well, I know people are going to want to know where they can go to find out more about Jasper and Friends, and also find out a little bit more about you. Sure.
I do have a webpage at www.jasper- and friends.com. They can go there and see some stuff. There's some cute pictures on there. There's some, for lack of a better term, some workbook pages there, like word searches and that sort of thing on there. Some coloring pages they can print out in color. As far as where you can buy the books, they're absolutely everywhere online. Publisher I have has got them listed as a print-on-demand book. And some of the big box stores don't stock print-on-demand books. Mm-hmm. We'll get the ones that can. We'll figure out who the ones that will stock it. We'll start trying to get them to put it in there. And awesome. Gift shops always do, and that sort of thing.
Wonderful. Well, we've had a really fun time speaking to the author of Jasper and Friends, a great series of picture books from our guest, Doug Berry. Hey, Doug, thanks so much for being with us.
No problem. Thanks for having me. It was great.
Please be sure to join us for the next episode of the Reading With You Kids podcast. Our guests will be David Roth and Rini Shah. They'll be here to celebrate LOL 101, a kid's guide to writing jokes. That's the next episode of the podcast. We want to thank the folks who made today's show so wonderful. Of course, we want to start by thanking our guests, M Waldvogel and Douglas Berry. Also want to thank my team, Fatima Khan, Rory Grady, Madison D. Eris, Soji Franklin, Monica Rivera Sosa, Ann O'Leary. I want to thank my beautiful wife for all the support she's given me. Most of all, we all want to thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today, and as always, thank you so very much for taking the time to make the world a better place by reading with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast.